Alright, I'm just gonna cut right to the chase. This video was supposed to go up on Halloween Day, but due to some circumstances that I will not specify, it did not. So please ignore the fact that I'm gonna be acting like it's Halloween. Or maybe don't ignore it, because I mean, it can still be Halloween today. According to Francis from Malcolm in the Middle,
as long as you carry the spirit of destruction and vandalism in your hearts, every day is Halloween.
I'd trust anything Francis tells me. He's one of the wisest people on television. So anyways, if I just go damage someone's personal property right now, it will become Halloween again. There. I did it. Happy Halloween. Roll the video. Today is Halloween, my personal favorite holiday. What's not to love about it? It's got free food, orange spheres, scary movies, and of course, it's the one night a year I can roam the neighborhood dressed as a creature of the night. At least without the authorities getting involved. I usually spend the season glued to my computer, grinding my life away on Scream Fortress contracts. But this year, I want something new. I want to feel alive. I want to really feel what it means to be a Halloweener. What I want is a good scare. And you're probably asking yourself, what could possibly scare me? Is it vampires? Artificial beings? The Sonic CD sound test? Believe it or not, none of those things. The only thing that strikes fear in my heart is zombies. But exclusively those of the 8-bit variety. So thank God Resident Evil Gaiden exists. Yeah, this game's quite an oddity, isn't it? A Resident Evil game on the Game Boy Color, of all things. Apparently, Capcom thought it was a great idea. Great enough that originally they tried making a full-blown Game Boy Color demake of the original Resident Evil. And it was pretty damn close to releasing. A prototype of the game leaked online years ago, and honestly, it's weirdly impressive. Like, these guys were able to convert a 3D action horror survival game into something that can fit on what's basically a couple NESs strapped together. Most of the game was complete, but for whatever reason Capcom shelved the project. They must have taken to heart Ian Malcolm's statement about the ethics of bringing back dinosaurs. Capcom stopped being preoccupied with whether or not they could do Resident Evil on the Game Boy, and started to think about whether they should. But also, as said by Ian Malcolm,
life, finds a way.
And in 2001, life did in fact find a way, and Capcom released an original Resident Evil title designed from scratch with the Game Boy Color in mind. Resident Evil Gaiden, which translates to Resident Evil Side Story, was an attempt at converting the RE formula into something that could actually work on a handheld at the time. Is it a successful attempt? That remains unknown, but I have hope that it's at least a decent experience. So without further ado, let's boot this thing up and see what it's all about. The game opens with an opening cutscene, or rather a series of mostly still images with text at the bottom. This game is set at some point after the Raccoon City incident. An underground organization has since been formed, with the primary goal of putting a stop to Umbrella Corp's evil antics. Leon Kennedy is a member of this organization, and he was recently sent to a luxury cruise ship called the Starlight, that supposedly has an escaped Umbrella monster on it. It's been 24 hours since Leon last contacted HQ, so they're sending Barry Burton out to see what's up. Yeah, Barry also joined this group. Now they just need the Duke and the shipping container guy from RE3, and we'll have the perfect RE dream team. Anyways, Barry is dropped off on the boat with nothing but a pistol, a knife, a PDA, and the simple goal of locating Leon. And this is where the game stops making you read words and lets you take control. So let's talk about control for a minute, why don't we? Since this game is 2D, and the main series games are not, the basic gameplay is a bit different. Fixed camera angles are a thing of the past. There's only one camera angle, and it's top-down. There's also no longer tank controls. pushing any direction on the D-pad, believe it or not, causes you to walk in the chosen direction. So basically it's like any other top-down game. Aside from that, most of the other buttons have pretty simple uses. Start opens the map, Select opens the inventory, A is a general action button, and then the B button is what you use for violence. If you hold down the B button while you have a gun equipped, a yellow reticle will appear and you can slide it around the screen to target anywhere you want, albeit somewhat slowly. Quite different than the previous games where you'd only be able to aim in the direction your character is facing. This starting area doesn't have much to see in it. Most of these doors are locked, so if you go to this big door down at the end of the ship, you'll get a call from some guy at HQ. Or maybe his name is HQ? The wiki just lists that as his name, so who knows. Also, while I'm on the topic of these Metal Gear Solid-ass conversation scenes, why are the character portraits so inconsistent? Barry looks like a damn NES sprite, while HQ over here looks like a failed attempt at photorealism. These two look like they're from completely different games, it's weird. HQ warns you of hostiles right behind that door. And gee, I sure wonder what kind of hostiles they might be. Let's see. There's no signs of human life on the boat. There's most likely an umbrella monstrosity on board. And this is a Resident Evil game. See, I'm thinking zombies, but I don't know, that just feels like it would be a bit too obvious. Son of a bitch! This is where you get your first taste of combat, and boy is the combat weird here. So you slide your target over to an enemy and release the button, then it takes you to this first-person view of the enemy. The way this works is there's a bar in between the enemy view and your stats down at the bottom. To land a hit on the enemy, you gotta press the A button when the slider is over your target, land a hit directly in the center, and it'll count as a headshot. It's a bit unorthodox, but it's an interesting way to implement shooting mechanics, I suppose. The enemies are able to get closer to you during battle, and as they approach you, their targets get bigger and easier to hit. But you gotta be careful because once they get all up in your face, they can start attacking you. And these guys mean business, they deal a fuck ton of damage. Plus, if there's any other zombies nearby when you engage in combat, then they too will join in the fun. And in a game where ammo conservation is super important, it's not a good thing when you get roped into fighting 3 enemies instead of 1. This creates an interesting risk versus reward system. Right now, all you'll have on you to defend yourself with is a pistol and a knife. Using a gun may be easier and can save you from taking damage, but it blows through ammunition that you may need to save for later, whereas the knife can be used infinitely and at any time. But you can only use it at close range, which is where you're most vulnerable. It forces you to weigh your options before every battle. I know I'm basically just describing the whole franchise, but I felt like talking about it. If you press start during combat, you'll have a chance to escape, and if you manage to perfectly hit this pretty difficult target, it'll let you go. The downside to this is that the moment you begin an escape, not only are you incapable of dealing damage anymore, but also all zombies on screen fast forward to being right in front of you. And for some reason, even if you successfully hit the escape target, there's a second or two of delay before you switch back to third person, and during that delay, zombies can still attack you, and you still can't fight back. So not only is escaping difficult on its own, but even when you do it right, you still get punished. What kind of backwards logic is that? It took me a little while to get the hang of the combat. I saw many game overs, but thankfully this game is pretty forgiving with its respawning. When you die and respawn, it puts you right back at the entrance of the room you were in, which is a lifesaver in some moments. Even after figuring out the combat, it still took me an embarrassing amount of time to progress to the next area, all due to the fact I had no idea these little alcoves on the sides were doors. I mean, I knew they were something because every time I went near one, this weird symbol would pop up in the corner. I had to look up the game's manual just to see what these mean. Apparently, this red rectangle with an X means locked door, and this red exclamation point means there's enemies nearby. The overall gameplay loop is pretty much what you'd expect from a Resident Evil game. You explore a large map made up of hallways and locked rooms, while evading enemies and collecting items. You collect items by pressing the action button whenever this green exclamation mark shows up instead of the red one. Sometimes this happens at spots where it makes sense. For example, sometimes when you kill a zombie, their body is left behind. and you can grab a free item off its corpse. And similarly, a lot of items are either in parts of the map you'd walk over anyways, or points of interest like things on the map that stand out from the rest of the room, like these dead bodies. If you want to progress, you kind of have to inspect every part of a room, which can be difficult if a zombie is blocking you, which happens quite a bit. Most items in this game can be sorted into 3 general categories: weaponry, health, and key items. Ammo can be found all over the place, and for any weapon. Some ammo types are rarer than others, and they all come in different amounts. Usually, you'll only find ammo for whatever weapons the game assumes you'll have at a given time. So, for the first area or so, you're mostly going to be finding handgun ammo. You'll find new weapons just laying around as you progress. I ended up with most of them while just exploring like normal. Some of the more powerful weapons are hidden deeper, but I'll get to those later. The main weapons are all stuff you'd expect from a Resident Evil game. You got a handgun, a shotgun, an assault rifle, etc. These range in terms of usefulness. The shotgun deals good damage, but only at close range, and ammo for it becomes quite scarce later on. The assault rifle is also really good with damage dealt, but its slider is really fast, so it's hard to aim with it. The handgun doesn't have as much firepower, but you'll find ammo for it the most frequently, so it's what you'll probably use the most. Health comes in the form of herbs, obviously, a series staple. There's several different colors of herbs, all of which heal different amounts of health. Green herbs heal a little bit of health, yellow herbs heal a medium amount, and red herbs will almost always bring you back up to near full health. There's also blue herbs, which cure poison, and purple herbs, which cure poison and refill most of your health. In addition to being able to replenish health, you can also save more of it by using armor. There's 3 types of body armor you can find that have light, medium, or heavy protection. And then there's keys. These come in many forms. Sometimes actual keys, sometimes key cards, sometimes random objects that you'll need to use for something eventually. And that's about it for items, for now at least. This part of the game is honestly pretty straightforward. It's quite easy to figure out where you're supposed to go. I think it's because not that much of the map is unlocked, so when you find a key you don't have to rack your brain that hard to figure out where any remaining locked doors are. And also, some keys just straight up tell you where to use them, or give you like a general area to look in. Oh, and also the in-game map usually tells you exactly what room it's your current goal to reach. It was around this point that I started to enjoy myself, honestly. The exploration was kind of fun, just as I'd expect from a game like this. The feeling of slowly unlocking all the rooms and clearing out the whole ship was something I liked. I liked the progression. The combat was growing on me too. I found it kinda fun to practice and improve my skills. By now, I'd pretty much mastered the timing of the knife, and it feels real good to get several headshots in a row. Just like the rest of the series, there's a finite amount of resources, which means when you pick up all the items in a room, those items don't respawn. You have to conserve as much as you can so you don't run out of health or ammo and get fucked permanently. Which is difficult when they put zombies in places where you can't exactly run past them or anything. There were a lot of instances where no matter how much I wanted to save my ammo, I still had to use it anyways, because there'd be zombies blocking me from places I needed to go, and killing them was my only choice. The only reason I was able to get through them so smoothly during this point in time is because this was my first time going through a lot of these rooms, so I was living off of the initial item pickups. At the very least, most of the time when you kill a zombie, it stays dead. Sometimes, if it leaves behind a body, it'll start crawling around and trying to get you, but for the most part, if a zombie doesn't leave a body, then it's gone for good. One thing I mentioned earlier is that you have a PDA in your inventory. Its primary use is to tell you what your current objective is, which is quite useful since it's easy to get sidetracked. The objective right now is to get into the security room on the top floor of the ship. And after around an hour and a half of making my way through the western parts of the boat, I finally made it. Inside is another cutscene. Barry has seemingly turned into Lego Obi-Wan Kenobi, And he's found out there's a living child somewhere on the boat, a girl named Lucia. Lucia mentions that she's met with Leon prior to this moment, and also reveals that there is in fact some kind of entity on the ship that's creating these zombies. After the cutscene, you're sent off to save Lucia from said creature. When you get to her, you finally get to see the monster for yourself. The bioorganic weapon, or BOW for short. Or maybe for long, since the game never once refers to it by its full name, only the BOW. I think it's supposed to be a variant of the Tyrant, but I don't know, he looks a lot less threatening than your average Tyrant model. This looks like it's gonna obliterate me with a single blow. This looks like it's mad at me because I ate the last Go-Gurt in the fridge even though Mom said not to. I am not calling this thing the BOW the entire video, that sounds fucking stupid. So I am unofficially naming him Paul, due to his uncanny resemblance to Paul Rudd, and due to its ability to emit tentacles from its chest. I saw Paul Rudd do that once, it was awesome. At this point, you get forced into a boss fight of sorts with Paul. He's actually pretty easy. As long as you have a clip or two of bullets and enough health to tank some hits, you'll be fine. When you finish him off, he just kinda melts into sludge and slides away. But he'll be back. Many times. Every boss fight in the whole game is against Paul. He just gets slightly stronger each time. Anyways, Lucia is now in your party. You may have noticed that during the combat, Barry's stats are in one of 3 slots. That is because this game has a sort of RPG-ish party system. So, now that you have Lucia, you can equip her with any weapon you want, and then during combat, if you press the B button, you can switch party members. So it's basically a system for switching weapons with a single input instead of needing to open up the inventory mid-fight and switch weapons manually, which is dangerous since opening the menu during combat doesn't pause the game. Around this time, you'll get a call from HQ telling you he knows what part of the ship Leon is in, so you and Lucia go there to investigate. Leon is hiding out in a first-class cabin, because he's too good for a second-class cabin, I guess. You can't enter the first-class area until you find the key for it in the second-class area, so you gotta explore this whole area consisting of several nearly identical cabins. Up until the Paul fight, all the rooms had pretty much the same few zombie types. There's a standard zombie with very green skin that's pretty easy to take care of once you get the hang of it, and there's a female variant that's a little more aggressive but also somewhat easy to manage. And on the top floor of the ship, there were these more olive-colored zombies. These take a little more effort to kill, but they were placed in spots that made them possible to outrun, so it wasn't a huge deal. The olive zombies are in the second-class cabins, alongside some normal ones. They're more of a pain in the ass here, due to positioning and amount, but they're still manageable. It just takes a little luck. Plus, the cabins are littered with health and ammo pickups, so by the time I made it out with the first-class key, I had more than enough of both. Which is good, because on your way to the other cabins is where you fight Paul for a second time. But not until you have this weird heartbeat monitor thing pop up in the corner to alert you to his presence. It doesn't really do anything, I just think it's weird that it only appears at this one part, and then, to my knowledge, never again. I think it's because Lucia is in your party. During the cutscene that happens in a moment, she starts being all like, I can sense its presence, and shit. Because apparently she's like psychic or something. The second encounter with Paul is just as easy as the first time, but when you defeat him, he grabs Lucia and runs off, leaving you alone again. And for some reason, instead of focusing on that, the current objective is still to locate Leon. So you have to go forward into the first-class cabins. And this is where they decided it was a good idea to introduce yet another zombie type. The purple guys. No relation. These things suck. They deal a lot of damage, they take way too many hits to kill, but worst of all is that they're fast, and the first class area is chock full of them. I had lost a lot of health in the Paul fight, and I couldn't find any herbs to heal with, so I had to go up against the purple things with a tiny sliver of health, which meant I died a lot. And remember how I said earlier that the game respawns you right where you died? Well, fuck that. In this place, it fucked me over hard. Okay, so I purposefully didn't mention this earlier because I wanted to bitch about it at the opportune moment. So, in a normal Resident Evil game, zombies will often try to grab you. But in most situations, there's ways to avoid this without using up bullets. Either by stunning the zombie, or running past it, or maybe luring it into a more open area. It's difficult to avoid a lot of these situations, but it's usually very possible to avoid them. Unless you've, super cornered yourself or something. See, this is fair. It's challenging, but possible to achieve. In Resident Evil Gaiden, on the other hand, it completely ruins the game experience. The zombies in this game have the world's largest grab range. If you get even kind of close to one of these fuckers, they're gonna speed up and go towards you. In some areas, it's just barely possible to evade them. They'll chase you a bit, but if you run around them just right, you can get away safely. But this is only possible in open spaces. Like, really open spaces, which are few and far in between. In places like hallways, it's nearly impossible to dodge them because they're placed, directly in the middle of the fucking hallway. So no matter which way you try to run around them, it's still too close, and no matter what, they will grab you, because getting within a zombie's range slows you down. The game forces you to walk slower so the fucking zombie can catch up to you. And all it takes is getting slightly close to one of them for it to start slowing you. So if a zombie is in a hallway or in a thin space, there's no fucking choice but to fight it. You can't escape it. You can't even lure it away because they don't follow you in this game. So no matter what, you're going to be forced to fight it. So your options are to either shoot at it from afar and waste ammo on it, or let it grab you so the fight starts close up and you can use your knife. But if you do that, it's going to waste health. And if you're already low on health, then the zombie is going to one-shot kill you within seconds. But you have no choice but to keep trying because there's no health anywhere you've looked. So the only option is to die over and over in one hit to this one zombie, hoping that one time it will fuck up and miss its attack. Most of the time, it attacks instantly, so you just get instantly sent to the game over screen before its attack animation has even finished playing, and after a certain point, almost every zombie on the map is a purple one. Even if you clear all the zombies in a room, the game just spawns in more, and the new ones are always stronger than last time just to make your life hell. And that's not even all of it. When a zombie grabs you, it waits a second before the combat starts. It holds you in place so that it can call on its friends, which means if there's any other zombies on screen when you get grabbed, they're all gonna join in and kick your ass together. And if that happens, then you'll have to waste even more ammo. That's of course assuming you even have enough health left to survive their attacks long enough to use the ammo. Even if you do have health, it won't last long because they're just gonna steal it from you. So you think to yourself, maybe, if I get really lucky, I can run past without triggering a fight. You don't have any ammo left, and you just have a little sliver of health, so you have no choice but to try and run past it. Again and again and again and again, and every time you try, the result is the same. The zombie grabs you, and then the game music starts going doo 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 doo. And then after 80 tries, you finally do it. You finally get away. And you get to the next room. And instead of finally finding something to heal or defend yourself with, you just find another purple fucking zombie blocking your path, and then the loop repeats, and every 5 seconds it's Okay. I'm good. I'm fine. So, this room that I entered with the two purple zombies, yeah, remember that? That you forgot. One of them was right next to the doorway, so the moment I entered the room, I was already in its range, and trying to leave the room is impossible because it always catches you, and because you respawn in the same room every time you load your save, you're instantly in this thing's grasp. And then there's another one nearby. Every time this purple fuck forces me into combat, the other purple fuck decides to join in, and I had barely any health left. So as soon as either of them attack, it's an instant game over. Eventually, I got lucky and managed to get my target on one of them before it caught me. I made it out alive, but I ended up blowing through almost an entire box of handgun bullets. Yeah, I don't think I like this game anymore. Shortly after that, I managed to get to the room that Leon was in. He's managed to fall through a hole in the floor and gotten knocked out. So if you use one of the key items from earlier, you can help him get out, then he joins your party. And for some reason, his portrait looks like a sim. Like, during actual cutscenes, he looks in line with Barry and Lucia's art style, but then when it's these talking heads things, he looks like that? What even is this game? You now have to go back up to the security room to look for Lucia. Before I went to the main objective, I took a detour that I thought was necessary at the time. I struggled my way into the kitchens and got my hands on a grenade launcher and a key to a room I was gonna need access to later. I also encountered a new zombie type, quite possibly my least favorite, the purple variant of the lead pipe guys. They have all the normal attributes of any other purple zombie, but they have a unique feature that makes them even more insufferable. They have ranged attacks. They can hit you from mid-range, which means they're the only enemy in the game that you can't consistently kill with a knife. They're so much fun to deal with, truly. Since these were rooms I hadn't been to before, I was able to live off of some new herbs I picked up along the way. When you do get to the security room, you see Paul at the front of the ship with Lucia. So you run all the way down to where he is, then fight him again. Pretty much the same as before. You unload an entire clip of bullets into him and he retreats for a while. After that, you have to go into a specific room to trigger the next story moment. I was able to do it instantly since I grabbed the key early. When you go in there, you get interrupted by an unspecified part of the ship blowing up. So Barry sends the others off to find a way to turn on the ship's sprinklers. Oh, and also there's this weird plot line about Barry thinking Lucia might actually be the BOW all along, and Paul is just a red herring or something. But HQ says they were able to find out that the BOW has green blood, and Lucia is bleeding red blood right now. So it's all good, I guess. You're now in control of Leon, finally. I mean, he's the guy on the cover. I should be allowed to play as him, obviously. This is where the pacing takes a nosedive, in my opinion. Up until now, it was just the insane difficulty that was making me want to stop playing. But once you take control of Leon, you start what's essentially just a big scavenger hunt. By now, you've seen almost all of the map, so this is all just running back and forth for like an hour. You find a key in one room, it says it opens another room, you run halfway across the map to find that room, and then you find another key inside that room and it just repeats like 8 times until eventually you reach the engine room. The engine room is one of the best places in the game because there's like 5 ammo boxes for different weapons all in this one area. Once you finish all this shit and turn on the sprinklers, you have to go to the security room again, this time to look for Barry. You see him on the phone with someone negotiating something with God knows who.
Is this Among Us? Imposter? Is this the imposter?
So you then go to talk to him. He betrays you and takes Lucia away in an umbrella submarine, leaving you with just Leon. Then something blows up again, so you have to go back down to the engine room. In the engine room is another epic battle with Paul. This time he works a little different. He approaches you at first, but if you keep attacking him, he backs up. Then he comes back after a little while. I shockingly had a decent amount of health, so he wasn't killing me with one hit. But I didn't have any ammo whatsoever, so I had to rely on only my knife, which meant I could only attack him when he got near me. He still killed me several times, and I didn't know why. Every time I fought him, I would get a lot of attacks in before his death, so like theoretically I should have been killing him. After like my 20th death, I left the engine room and went on a journey to find the most overpowered weapon in the game, the rocket launcher. All the other weapons in the game were in places where you'd find them naturally, but this one was hidden away in a place no sane player would think to check. So where was it? In a box behind a random ass zombie in the basement. Yeah, in the game where you're supposed to only kill enemies when you absolutely have to, let's just hide an item in a random corner blocked by a powerful enemy that no sane person would fight without a good reason. I only knew it was there because I looked it up. Normally I'd feel a little guilty about looking something up in a game I'm gonna talk about, but I don't even care. I've had it up to here with this piece of shit game. I started playing this at 11 PM one night, with the intention of finishing it in one sitting. The internet told me it would take around 4 hours, give or take. So I thought, I could knock this thing out in 4 hours, surely. I was up until 6 AM, and I still didn't even beat the game. I had to play for several more hours the next day. And listen, man, When you're 7 hours into a game that's supposed to take 4, you start to lose your patience a little. So thank you, Nakian on Game FAQs. I owe you my sanity. Alright, so I got the rocket launcher, I got rockets for the rocket launcher, I found a single yellow herb and used it to heal myself so Paul couldn't one-shot me. I was ready. And I did it. I finished off Paul. It took a couple tries, but that was just because the rocket launcher slider is very fast, so it took a bit of practice. Directly after Leon finishes off Paul, the perspective changes back to Barry. We're in another cutscene now. Barry is on the Umbrella ship, and he betrays the Umbrella people. He was a double agent, holy shit. He holds them at gunpoint until they remove the weird Umbrella parasite thing that's inside Lucia. And then, some stuff happens, not super important, except the part where I got soft-locked again and had to go back to a previous save and fight Paul again, but leaving behind just enough ammo for Barry to kill this one enemy that you can't avoid. Right now you're on the submarine, which has its own layout. There's pretty powerful enemies on the sub, but also a lot of items to pick up, which was a godsend at this point. After you're done here, Barry and Lucia leave the sub and go back to the Starlight to save Leon. After going all the way from the front deck of the ship to the engine room and the way back, you encounter Leon, who's actually not Leon, but is Paul pretending to be Leon. Because Paul is a shapeshifter, I guess? Sure, why not? And yeah, you fight Paul yet again. This time he was so hard to kill that I was trapped again. I couldn't get past this fight no matter how hard I tried. Paul was too powerful, and I was too weak. I died to him repeatedly, and every time I died, it took me to the load screen, where I was greeted by these really pissed off zombies. They're looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you still here? And I thought about listening to Load Screen Zombie. I really considered giving up and not making this video. But much like life, I found a way. See, there's this one glitch that I found out about, a glitch that could save this playthrough. Remember earlier when I said that the engine room had a lot of ammo? Well, turns out, every time you die to Paul in the engine room, all of the engine room ammo boxes respawn. You can't reach all of them, but you can get the ones that matter. So I loaded up my save from right before the recent battle with Paul. I picked up the handgun ammo right behind my spawn point, and the rocket launcher ammo in the room above. Then I let Paul kill me, and I collected the same ammo again and again and again. And after almost an hour, I had completely maxed out my handgun and rocket launcher ammo. 99 shots in each. Then I progressed back to the next Paul brawl, still with plenty of shots left in both. I wiped the floor with him, then saved the real Leon. Now, with all 3 characters at my disposal, and my overabundance of handgun bullets, I was able to kill my way back to the elevator room, where Paul was waiting for me. He was just standing there, menacingly. Once again, I beat his ass and progressed to the next room, and unable to know when to quit, Paul appears once more and drags Lucia into the ocean. They both resurface, but now Paul has shapeshifted into a copy of Lucia. So the real Lucia cuts her hand open to show that her blood is red and not green. Then Paul returns to his true form, and you're pulled into the final boss. I hit Paul with everything I had, which could be more accurately described as 20 rockets. And finally, it was done. After all the pain, all the suffering, I was done with this game. The final cutscene shows the 3 characters hopping into a submarine and getting away just as the Starlight sinks. Wow, what a happy ending. Everyone's alive, Lucia lost her umbrella powers, and Leon makes this face for some reason. Oh, and also, this isn't the real Leon, this is Paul, the real Leon died. No, I'm not making that up, this is actually how the game ends. What the actual fuck? Imagine if this game was canon. That would suck. Well, final verdict time. What do I think? Would I recommend this game? Would I let it date my daughter? I'm gonna be as honest as possible. It's almost fun. Like, structurally, I think it could have worked. The Resident Evil formula in a 2D setting could definitely work, and ignoring the gameplay, it's a pretty well put together game. Like, the visual design is really good. The environments are visually pleasing, and they look distinct enough that even I, a person with the memory skills of a goldfish, could memorize where certain rooms are and how to get to them without over-relying on the map. Really, the main thing holding this game back is how unfair the enemies are. If the zombies in this game weren't so infuriating to deal with, I probably would have enjoyed the overall experience a lot more. Like, truly, the main thing that causes the game to fall apart is the zombies. They're too hard and unfair, and they do nothing but cause the difficulty to skyrocket to a level where it's just not fun anymore. Even taking into account the fact that some of it, or most of it, was likely caused by my own lack of skill, this is some of the least fun I've had playing a game. So I don't know, don't play this game. Unless you want to, I guess. I'm not going to stop you. But man, I don't even want to look at it anymore. I hope I never have to talk about a shitty Resident Evil spin-off again. Oh, god damn it!